The Improbable Dream Part 1 is such a fabulous start to the 8th season of Cheers. This is, of course, directed by the wonderful James Burrows, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And our cold open is an absolute delight. Frasier asks the guys to watch his beer while he goes to the bathroom, and they start to talk about things that could float in beer. To which Norm responds, "Call me old-fashioned, Cliff, but the only thing I like floating in beer is my liver," which I have to say I rather enjoyed. And they start to, Woody, Cliff, Carla and Norm start to put different things into Frasier's beer to see if they'd float. And it escalates to the point of Carla putting his car in beer. And as he comes out of the bathroom, they quickly get all of the stuff out of the beer, and he drinks it completely unaware of what had gone down. And I rather liked it. Quite a fun start, quite a busy start as well. The opens often have fewer characters in, just kind of usually. So it was quite a busy start, and I rather liked it. We then have Sam dropping off Rebecca at her apartment. She invites him in, but only for coffee. And it's clear that they had been on a date, finally. And as Rebecca's trying to prepare the coffee, Sam keeps turning the lights off. And I have to say this hurt, because I'm currently watching season 1 as well for some Diane-themed project that I'm doing, and to have Diane so prominently on my mind, to be fair, she usually is, but to then see Sam on this date or after date with Rebecca, it kind of hurts. It really does. But then they start dancing, and it's really lovely, and it's clear that Rebecca is very eager, to the point where she's on the sofa, well, she's on the floor, behind the sofa, rather, and she's just throwing clothing over the sofa, and she wakes up in her office. It was all a dream. She wakes up with a scream, and honestly, I would have loved to have seen their reactions, Ted Danson and Kirstie Alley's reactions, when they first got that script and then got to the dream part. It was very, very well done. And Sam, back in present day, Sam knocks on the office door, comes in, and Rebecca really starts to shout, taking all of her anger and frustration out on Sam. And he thinks it's his aftershave, and he asks Carla if it's his aftershave, and for a very brief moment, it seems like he's coming on to Carla, and Carla responds to this, and we'll come back to that in a little while. Frasier and Lilith then come in, and this kind of made me laugh because they start to show off all of these black and white baby toys. There's an adorable panda and some other black and white toys, and it just kind of made me think about all of the, to use a popular internet term, this is not my term, but the term sad beige mom exists because there are certain people, usually for internet clout, buying very bland beige colourless toys. It's a bit of an unfortunate trend at the moment, and it just kind of made me laugh because it made me think of that, but several decades before the current trend. And Rebecca tells Lilith and Frasier that she needs their help, because she's dreaming about somebody she shouldn't be dreaming about. And Frasier responds with the suggestion that this is because even though he's a sexy and successful doctor, he's also happily married and about to be a father. Lilith's face when he said that was an absolute treat. And of course, Lilith had her own thoughts to add. She responded to Frasier, "Darling, you're the love of my life, but even I don't have erotic dreams about you." Absolutely loved it. And Rebecca explains her frustration by saying, "I played Donald Trump's board game. I watched Ted Turner's network. I just finished Robin Colcord's new book. And somehow in my dreams, I end up dancing on my back with Sam Malone." And my biggest takeaway from that is Donald Trump had a board game? He did. It was released in 1989, the same year that this episode was released. And honestly, I have no interest in playing it. There are a couple of Trump references here, but it's also worth noting, well, actually, it's probably not worth noting, but I'm going to say it anyway. Kirstie was quite public with her support of Trump, to the extent where at one point on Twitter, Shelley Long was trending. Because, well, Cheers, if you're a Cheers fan, it's often, do you prefer Diane or do you prefer Rebecca? So when she was very public about her support of Trump, Shelley Long ended up trending because people were, I guess, switching their love to Shelley Long, and it was a bizarre time. But I love Kirstie Alley regardless of any of that. And back to the episode itself. She tells Frasier and Lilith, Sam can never hear about this. And when she said that, that's when I remembered something Sam had said at the beginning of this scene. Sam had said he would be fixing the window at the front of the bar if she needed him. And of course, Lilith, Frasier, and Rebecca are sitting in front of that window with the blinds down. So obviously they couldn't see Sam. And as soon as she said, Sam can't find out, I realised what had happened. And of course, they leave the frame. And all we see is Sam pulling up the blinds with a rather happy look on his face. He then comes into the bar laughing and calls everybody around him. And, well, he tells them that Rebecca has had these dreams about somebody they know, and he uses the word young. And he says to Woody, "It's me." To which Woody responds, "I thought you said he was young." Which I love. That had to hurt Sam. And also, I noticed at that point, Carla's earrings. Her earrings for the episode are bowling pins, which is quite a delight. And Carla comes up with this idea how Sam can use this to his advantage. And this is the bit I wanted to come back to. She explains what Sam could do, and she ends up having to leave the bar because she, in her own words, has turned herself on. And it makes me wonder, not for the first time, if Sam had been interested in Carla romantically, would she have dated him? And I think absolutely. I think it's very clear that Carla is attracted to Sam. But I also think she really values their friendship to the extent where she's usually able to just put those feelings aside. But obviously in this episode, we see on several occasions where had Sam propositioned her, she absolutely would have crumbled at his feet. And I think it's very interesting. Sam then comes in sometime later with this cardboard box containing a radio or a cassette player and a carton of milk. He's going to put Rebecca to sleep by making her some warm milk. But he doesn't actually have to do that. Rebecca comes out of the office. To her credit, she apologises for shouting at him earlier. And Sam puts on this rain cassette, this sound of rain. And he talks with her. And he suggests that maybe she's tired and maybe she should just go for a nap. And initially she doesn't want to do that. She knows she's going to fall asleep and dream about Sam, but she realises she is very tired. So she decides it's a good idea. She goes to her office and Sam goes back to the bar because his plan is in motion. And the guys are all asleep and it's just an absolute joy. And then we realise Woody is asleep, standing up with his eyes open. And what I really love about this is Carla wakes him up and Woody wakes up, but obviously he doesn't necessarily realise he's been asleep. It's one of those things where, well, he doesn't realise because he's in the exact same place he was when he fell asleep. And he just kind of looks at everybody and just walks off as if nothing had happened. And I rather enjoyed it quite a lot. We then have the final scene, which is pretty interesting because Rebecca is asleep. Well, we think she's asleep. She's got a magazine in front of her. It's Fortune with Robin Colcord's face on the front of it. Clearly she's been trying to manipulate her dreams, which is completely understandable. And Sam comes in, he starts talking softly to her as if he's trying to infiltrate her dreams, and she grabs onto his collar, the front of his shirt, and he talks with a high-pitched voice, and I loved it. But he's not giving up. He tries to soothe her back into sleep. He's stroking her face, and Rebecca just absolutely loses it, and she shouts at him, "Look at what I'm dreaming about!" A bartender in an off-the-rack shirt with a button missing, which, I have to say, Sam does look a lot less put together than he usually does in this episode. And I loved Sam's response. He kind of looked down at his shirt and said, "It's not missing, I always keep it unbuttoned so I can scratch my stomach." Oh, yeah. It was just the way he said it so innocently, I rather loved. And Rebecca explains that these dreams are particularly frustrating because she was taught to never, ever settle. And it's if her dreams even are no longer reaching for heights. In her dreams even, she's settling for Sam. And as Sam points out, she's been at the bar for 3 years. And he made a good point. If you're never allowing yourself to settle, it means you're never opening yourself up to what could be and to opportunities along the way because you're only focused on that sight in the distance. And of course, that's the case with Rebecca. And she realises that what he's saying is probably true. So she decides, okay, it's time. Let's take a shot at our relationship. And she kisses him. And for a brief moment, it seems like Sam and Rebecca could be the hottest new couple at Cheers. And then there's a knock at the door. And it's Robin Colcord, played by Roger Rees. And Rebecca sees him, kind of does a double take, looking at the front cover of the magazine, and she pushes Sam out of the way. He falls into a wheelie chair. The chair wheels back into the cupboard. Cardboard boxes start crashing down on him. This bottle spills down behind him. Liquid is pouring all over him. He's just completely in chaos, and Rebecca only has eyes for Rob and Colcord. And I will say, based purely on this episode, I can't remember if I felt this way the first time I watched it, but it seems a little bit of a coincidence or a convenience that Colcord has been mentioned several times in this episode. He's on the cover of the magazine Rebecca is reading, and then by pure chance, he happens to arrive at her office door. But as we watch the show and things progress, it seems less of a coincidence. So had it not ended saying to be continued, I think it said to be continued. Either way, I knew it was a two-parter. Had it ended without that information, it would seem a little bit ridiculous. But as things progress, it gets a little less ridiculous. But it's an absolutely fantastic episode. I'll talk more about Colcord as we go through the episodes. Do I have personal highlights? Well, yes and no. Just the entire episode. But if I were to pluck some specific things, the intro with Frasier's drink, love how that played out. And definitely Frasier and Lilith coming in with the black and white baby toys, and what Frasier said about him being sexy and successful. Lilith's response to that I absolutely loved. Of course, the moment when Sam revealed himself behind the window, I loved that. And Carla's earrings, absolutely loved those. And Sam talking in a high-pitched voice, Rebecca shouting, "Look at what I'm dreaming about," Sam revealing he hasn't got a missing button. He just leaves it unbuttoned to scratch his stomach. He just said it so adorably. It was very, very sweet. And of course, just the way everything was executed when Rebecca pushed Sam onto the chair and how everything unravelled after that. It was an absolute joy to watch. As I said, because I am currently also spending time in season 1 with Diane, and Diane telling Sam, "You're a magnificent pagan beast," part of the phone call that she received on his behalf. And it's very different. It's the same, but it's different. And it's kind of painful to see Sam with anybody else other than Diane. But if Sam had to end up with anybody else, I would have wanted it to have been Rebecca. But I'll say no more. Really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. The Improbable Dream Part 1 is a fantastic way to start the 8th season of Cheers.